As investors digest the better-than-expected December jobs report, let's check in on how small businesses are faring with Paychex CEO John Gibson. John, welcome to the programming here. You're taking the jobs report this morning.
Brian, it's exactly what I expected. That's what we reported on Tuesday in our Paychex IHS job report. What we see is really job growth remains steady, but we certainly have seen for repetitive months now, wage growth continues to slow in small businesses.
And so for what we're expecting going forward from here, it's really just a matter of, for the companies that have already started to do some significant belt tightening, as we've talked about, or cuts, where those people start to find other jobs as well.
Yeah, I think, Brad, one of the things to keep in mind, but our report is focused on small businesses under 50. And so a lot of times, a lot of the headlines we're hearing are really about larger companies, some of which I actually think overhired for the situation, and we're kind of hoarding talent. In small businesses, we still have areas, leisure and hospitality is a good one, where they're still trying to catch up to the hiring where they were pre-pandemic. Now, what we're seeing in the other sectors is more full employment. They're getting back to where they are. Small businesses owners are being very cautious about adding employees, but they're still looking for employees and looking to even upgrade their employees, as you said, as people come into the job market.
And we also have been talking about the phenomenon of job hoarding, right? That many companies are reluctant to lay people off because they were so burned during the pandemic, not being able to find people, that when there's an upturn, they're worried about that again. Do you think that is more acute among small firms than larger firms?
Well, I certainly think that for small firms, their impact and their ability to recover was much more difficult. So as you know, when the pandemic hit, everyone was kind of cutting staff. Then we started to ramp back up very quickly. Small businesses found it more difficult to compete against larger businesses. I think you saw larger businesses begin to take talent. And as small businesses recovered, they were really trying to hold on, retain. We saw them adding benefits, 401k, healthcare, trying to attract and retain their employees. I mean, keep in mind, remember the Great Resignation? That was just not too long ago. That was just early in 2022. And so everyone has been very cautious about holding on to the good talent they have and trying to get back to full staffing. And we got there probably about 5 months ago in small business in most of the sectors. And what we're seeing now is people are still trying to hold on to the talent they have. The labor market is tight, and they're looking for opportunities to upgrade talent if they can.
But John, what's their level of fear for the back half of this year? Because when I hear this week a Salesforce come out and cut 10% of its workforce and warn about a slowdown in orders, I have to imagine small businesses are feeling in many respects the same things.
Yeah, look, small businesses certainly are concerned about inflation. They don't have the pricing power of larger companies. They're also concerned about the tight labor market. So as we just talked about, the other thing that we're seeing coming up more frequently for small businesses now is access to funding. As you can imagine, as the Fed is raising rates, they're raising the cost of and the difficulty of getting access to capital for small business owners. So they certainly now are looking for ways that they can continue to fund their business, deal with any type of dips while continuing to deal with inflation. One of the things we're doing a lot of right now with our clients is helping them gain access to the employee retention tax credit. It's not a well understood opportunity. A recent survey said only 63% of small business owners didn't know it was available. And we've helped over 50,000 of our clients access billions of dollars. And the average refund that we're seeing for our clients is about $190,000. So I think that's something that policymakers and quite frankly, small business owners need to make available to them.
John, from what you're seeing, what are small businesses doing differently to court and ultimately keep talent in the workforce? People who have either left a job and are discouraged in looking for a new one, or have just left the labor force entirely.
Yeah, so one of the things that we've seen early on in the pandemic is more small businesses trying to enhance their benefit offerings. So one of our fastest growing businesses, we're the largest record keeper for 401k, focused on small businesses. We've seen a lot of growth in that. They're adding that. I think that's going to be further aided by the recent passage and signature by the president of the Secure Act 2, which is going to be able to really begin to level the benefits gap that exists between large businesses and small businesses. It's going to make it easier for employees of small and mid-sized businesses to save and access their funds in an emergency way. It also it provides a credit for adding a plan if you're a small business owner. It gives a credit for every dollar you match, up to $1,000 in some cases, and also helps small business owners help fund student loans through a 401k program as well. So those are the type of things they're trying to do to attract and retain their employees.
John, I want to ask you a wage question, because obviously we saw in the government report a slowdown in wage growth. You saw that in your report as well. Mm-hmm. And we were just talking with an economist from S&P Global who said some of it is reflective of that the wage or the job additions are on the lower end of the wage spectrum. Is that what you're seeing as well, or are there other sort of downward pressures?
I think that's certainly part of it, but I certainly think what we see is small business owners have been very resilient, and they've really drove a lot of productivity. The restaurants have reinvented their model of how they're running their restaurants, and so I think what they're doing is recognizing, they don't have the same pricing power of larger companies, so they've got to figure out how to get more out of less. So what we're seeing is they're working more hours. So in small businesses, the number of hours worked is up significantly, the highest we've seen in a while. We're seeing them really try to help their employees be more productive. So a lot of things that we're doing to drive productivity. So small businesses right now are trying to get the most out of the workers they can, and they're trying to keep wages low.
John Gibson, Paychex CEO, talking to us on this Jobs Day. Obviously, you have a very close association with this whole topic, and we appreciate your insight this morning.